Hey, thank you for being a part of our study in Isaiah. We're in Isaiah 48. Rudy and I just prayed and asked God for help because this is not easy to interpret for you. So I'm going to read some highlights of chapter 48, and then I'm going to turn to Rudy and ask him to kind of get uncorked, okay? So he's now turning the attention from Babylon to the people of God, calls them Jacob. And he says, "Hear this, O house of Jacob, you who swear by the name of the Lord, invoke the God of Israel." But he adds a little bit, but not in truth or in right. And so there's a time when we can pray, but God knows our heart and knows we need to be adjusted. Just keep that in mind. I know I can apply that to myself very much.
No one's holy but him.
Exactly. So it comes down to verse 4. "I know you're obstinate, your neck's like an iron sinew, your forehead like brass." That's the ultimate being hard-headed.
Oh, that is. And I do have a forehead of brass.
I have to confess that also. All right, so here are two sinners who are teaching the Bible. Great. "I declared them to you from long ago, before they came to pass, I announced it to you. I said, so that you would not say, my idol did them." So God, we're going to get to this. God talked in the past so they knew that anything false but God didn't get it done. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right, so verse 6, "From this time forward I make you hear new things, hidden things you've not known. They're created now, not long ago. Before today you've never heard of them, so that you could not say I already knew them." All right, so you can't know what I'm getting ready to tell you. Now, verse 8, this is the one that Rudy's going to talk about. "You've never heard, never known. From of old your ear has not been opened. For I knew that you would deal very treacherously, that from your birth you were called a rebel." Rudy, I know you've got some insights on that verse.
Well, I circled that verse a long time ago. And really what it did was it opened up the possibility, the window, that God had always been telling the same story. We were never smart enough to be able to understand it. Only when he allowed us to understand it would we be able to see what he wanted us to see. That's part of my prayer when I was studying the prophets, because I actually just, nobody understands completely what's going on, but the prayer that I use, I think the prayer that God gave me, is to ask him to see what the prophet saw. And because I realized God allowed the personality that he put in each one he never suppressed it, he allowed it. So when they wrote about what they saw, it had a particular character of the individual because of the gifting that God had given the prophet. And in that, I started being able to identify the different voices of the prophets in the same way that they describe the language that they used to describe what they saw. And the comparison happens when you know that they were seeing the same picture, and then you see each individual having something that was like, that was more important to me, so he wrote about it. But the same image was shown to Paul, and he wrote something else that basically stood out for him. Because really, if you were to put 8 or 10 people in a room and have them write down what they saw, in the end, you would see that everybody saw something a little different, although they all saw a lot of the same things, but there'd be certain things that were different. Getting back to this verse, "You have never heard, you've never seen," it's not because God didn't say it. It's because he never allowed us to see it yet. Daniel says a couple of times, Daniel is told a couple of times, he's given this information, and Daniel kind of gets upset about it, but God said, "Go your way, this is sealed till the end of this age." Right. Some of the things are sealed to the end of the age. The image of God coming in the flesh was hidden. Yet when you look back through history with the resurrection as your lenses, you see it was really always there.
Yeah. And so what Rudy's saying is, here's my interpretation, is that God has always been speaking, but we can't see until he reveals it to us. And I have to confess, I've got that forehead of bronze and that stiff neck. I want what I want when I want it. And that probably gets in the way of some of God being able to communicate to me. I believe that's true. But also, even if I didn't have it, I would have to receive from his revelation. Mm-hmm.
Right, and the thing is that you don't understand, it's not your time yet. I know that really I have been gifted by God to be able to see a bunch of stuff, and it's because I stormed the gates, I guess. But the crazy thing is, even though I've talked about it for a couple of decades, it doesn't stick on the people that hear it, and it may be because it's not their time.
Right.
I don't know, but because he gave it to me, I keep putting it back out there again.
That's right.
Because he told me one time, he says, what I've given to you, you must give away quickly.
Right.
And I'll just end it right there and let you get back into
I think that's good. I think you all can see that we're wrestling with the topics of these 3 days. They're not easy. I would really encourage you, please, to read through this and pray. God, help us to see. Bottom line is, there is a Babylonian spirit that makes us prideful, where we use the thing God's given us for ourselves and we romp over other people. And then there's a speaking God who is saying, I'm here to redeem you. I'm here to change you, to help you. Respond to me. So let's be responding to God, and let's pray. Let's pray for the people around us that they'll do the same. Rudy, thank you, and thank you for being a part. God bless you. We'll be back tomorrow, and we'll be covering more of this. Hopefully it'll be clear to you. God bless you. Take care.